For this semester, our group looked into the future of the consumer experience of the National Football League. First, the central question that served as the guiding principle for our project. What is the future of the consumer experience of the NFL as it relates to changes and developing trends in American and international culture? This gave us many great opportunities and avenues to explore, which you'll see throughout the course of this video. Now let's take a look at the current status of the NFL and some of the main points of its historical evolution to where we are now. The NFL so far has innovated successfully to improve the consumer experience. However, it faces numerous headwinds from reduced participation, a recent decline in viewership, and the controversial issues of the national anthem protest and concussions. As a result, the NFL finds itself in a rather precarious position. Looking ahead, in order to have any sort of idea what the future might hold for the NFL and its fans, we have to think about what might drive the league in the years and decades to come. We've identified 5 categories of forces of change for this project: gameplay and rule changes, stadium infrastructure, outside engagement, league structure, and socio-political platform. The first force of change is gameplay and rule changes, which is exactly what it sounds like: the manipulation of how the actual game is played on the field. The focus here is on player safety and game length in an effort to increase the former and decrease the latter. Next, stadium infrastructure represents one of the more visible aspects of the consumer experience. While stadium amenities, access, and general specifications have greatly increased to the delight of fans, that benefit is offset slightly in the form of higher concession prices and season ticket rates. Outside engagement, essentially how the rest of society interacts with the NFL outside of the league and the players. TV networks and social media represent the main stakeholders. While TV ratings in general have declined, Super Bowl viewership is actually expected to increase, which shows that the NFL still has an aura that appeals to fans. League structure, again, pretty self-explanatory how the league is formed, organized, and operated. The NFL, while currently putting forth an effort to stay relevant in the United States, is increasingly looking to gain an international presence by playing games in the UK and in Mexico, with the potential to expand playing sites even more. Socio-political platform is the last force of change and has been thrown into the spotlight in the last couple of years. There is a conflict and a balance must be struck between players' desires to speak up on issues and the league maintaining the integrity of the sport, particularly the on-field product. Now, by disrupting those forces of change, we can see some alternative future scenarios that might arise. The first of these is European explosion, our growth scenario, which witnesses the establishment of a European football conference overseas, with many teams taking root in international cities. The winner of the EFC would challenge the victor of the NFL Super Bowl in an international event, contributing a World Cup-type flair typically seen in soccer. In this scenario, we also saw the complete legalization of sports gambling in the United States. In terms of implications for business, European explosion provides immense opportunity for sports betting websites to capitalize on both international and domestic gambling. Cybersecurity companies will also experience growth opportunities, needing to assure end-to-end encryption for payment information. Finally, retail outlets in major international cities with EFC teams will see an uptick in business with increased traffic during game day week. The transformation scenario momentum swings sees drastic changes in the league's socio-political state as well as the technology involved. Player activism grows extreme to the point of a player strike, which means losses for all parties until the players and the league come together to find a middle ground. Meanwhile, with technology, automation becomes prevalent, especially with officiating. While the technology is disliked at first due to its lack of development, it gains more popularity as it evolves because of its accuracy and ability to speed up games, also a big priority of NFL fans. Business implications here include tech companies becoming more involved and integrated with teams, and as a corollary, we start to see virtual and augmented reality enter the space and drive revenues for the teams and the league. It's not unreasonable to think that teams could be the marketing arm of major companies, i.e. the Facebook Seahawks, as well as seeing tech companies become more involved with teams and franchises to the point of offering them a competitive advantage. The collapse scenario, end of an era characterized by the NFL's headwinds growing in size. Fans disapprove of national anthem protests, and the NFL loses its place at the heart of American culture as protests are not dealt with effectively and fans are driven away. The concern over concussions also increases, and more parents stop their kids from playing the sport. This decrease in participation means much less interest in the NFL in future generations. Eventually, these two headwinds cause Americans to no longer have an interest in watching the NFL. The scenario also includes the failure of the league to establish itself as a popular and lucrative sport abroad. This is because it fails to address safety concerns as well as failing to adapt the sport to be more viewer-friendly. Implications of the collapse scenario are that as consumers lose interest, revenues and franchise values plummet. NFL teams are no longer desirable business partners, and TV companies look for other teams to do business with, such as teams in established U.S. sports like basketball and baseball, and teams in up-and-coming sports such as soccer and rugby with very high growth rates. In conclusion, the NFL still dominates in America today, but its future is far from certain, and the NFL needs to adapt in order to survive in the long term.